Yo, do you want to talk about this show, The Offer?
Okay.
Jazzed about this.
Who here has seen The Godfather? Anybody?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all seen The Godfather.
Fantastic movie. Mark hasn't.
You haven't seen The
He hasn't seen movies.
He hasn't
So
seen any
long. It's like a
movies.
3-hour movie.
It's a great movie. It's considered one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
And it's based on a book, The Godfather.
Yeah.
And then this show called The Offer is a 10-episode series all about making The Godfather and what it took to make that movie.
Yeah.
And the way you said Top Gun made you feel, where it's like, yo, I want to make a movie.
Yeah.
This shit made me feel like that.
Why?
It's old Hollywood, and some of the stuff is like corny, and the guy who's the producer clearly tells a story because he makes himself look good almost every scene. But the shit that went down to get this, first of all, the mafia didn't want this movie made because it's a mafia movie, and they weren't talking about the mafia back then.
Cosa
publicly.
Nostra.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Omerta.
Yeah, so they are like, so he has to like kind of get the mafia on his side and get them okay with making the movie.
Oh, did they eventually approve?
Yo, they approved because he got a mafia guy in his good graces by kind of like, first, the guy calls him to a sit down in Brooklyn, and he's like, look, I'm not going to kill you to prove to you I'm more civilized than you think Italians are, because he's like, this movie's also offensive to Italians. He's like, what, you say your side of the story. And then the guy's like, look, I'm going to invite you to my office. Come read the script. Read the script if you don't like it. If you think it's offensive, we won't make it. I'm not making an offensive movie. The guy comes, they don't have a script done. So he have a beginning and an end and no middle. He just puts fucking spreadsheets in the middle because he knows the mafia, or he thinks the mafia guy won't read it. He's just praying, hands it to the mafia guy, obviously fucking mafia don. He looks at the page, he looks how thick it is, he goes, you know what? You say it's good, I trust you. You say it's okay, I appreciate you calling me over here. And they're doing shit like this the whole movie. Then you got the Hollywood side and the producers you got to deal with and the execs you got to deal with. And it's a fucking great show, fun show.
Where's it on?
It's on Paramount Plus,
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
sucks. It's
Because
kind of
it's
hard to
limited,
get to.
right?
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't got that
And
shit.
Paramount is the company that produced
That produced The Godfather.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
it is some propaganda, but also...
Good. Let it be.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
fine. It's okay. You
But
should be
also-
proud of yourself. You made the
Paramount
movie.
was struggling before this movie. Then all of a sudden they had this. They had another movie called Love Story, just bang, bang, bang. Like they were about to sell off Paramount, the company that owned it.
Yeah.
They managed to get them not to sell it. Like it's a just fucking crazy story. If you have access to Paramount Plus, watch the show, especially if you've seen The Godfather and like The
Is
Godfather.
Paramount Plus Montana show?
Yes. Yes.
Dutton Ranch? What is
Yellowstone.
that
Yes,
called?
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
That's the
What
same
do you
one.
think it was called?
Dutton
Ranch.
Oh, okay, that's the name. Yeah. I feel like you would like the show a lot, Dave.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No, but
And the guy who plays
I'm dying to see it. Like these are like the legends. If you ever read of like how Hollywood was built up, Al Ruddy,
Yes.
Bob Evans, who like
Yes.
did those movies in Chinatown and all those.
Yeah.
Go.
Iconic. No. It was all the crazy old executive stories of Hollywood. Of like,
And the guy who plays young Pacino and the guy who plays young James Caan, rest in peace. But like the guy who plays young Pacino, it's fucking crazy how much he sounds like him and looks like him. It's fucking crazy. It's like perfectly cast.
I love the how it was made story in
Yes.
general. I think like for successful businesses, I think there's like a podcast called How It Was Made.
Yeah,
and they
yeah, I
take
think
like
so.
big companies, and the stories are always great because in order to make something so successful, you need luck. Like
Yes.
everybody needs a little hint of luck or a few little hints of luck.
Yeah.
Like, and those make like the best stories. But the Godfather thing is really interesting that they needed the mafia to sign off. I never considered that. But I wonder if the mafia is happy because it presented the mafia, even though it was incredibly like violent and dangerous, but there was like a romanticism to the mafia that exists today because of that movie in non-Italians.
Yeah.
So people who are completely unfamiliar with mafia, our idea is go say hi to the Don on the wedding day, kiss the hand, the affection, the love. It doesn't get like fucked up until, is it two? Godfather 2.
Yeah.
Where they show the relationship between.
It gets dark. Godfather
That's where
2.
it gets really dark.
Fucking
And I
dark.
wonder if they would have had way more pushback.
If
knowing,
2 was one. Well, the book comes out. Puzo's like a struggling writer. They show this at the
Mario
beginning.
Puzo is the guy who wrote The Godfather. It's based on his book.
Thank you. But he owed like mad money to different people. And then he writes his book. It sells 58 million copies. It's apparently the best-selling book ever.
Crazy. Imagine you just get a buck.
Yeah.
Like, that is fucking, son, that book money's different. Go on.
And he says, like, to his wife, who's suggesting write about what you know in the mafia, he's like, yo, I grew up with these guys. You don't fucking write about them.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, make the story yours. Make it in a way that humanizes them or whatever. But, like, that's another fucking aspect to it. From the moment the book came out and they found out they were making it a movie, so many mafia people, like Frank Sinatra, one of the characters, Johnny Fontana or whatever his name is, you watch the movie, you don't know this. It's making fun of Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I did not know that because I see Frank Sinatra as this fucking Don, God, untouchable, like
Everyone loved him.
confident,
Yeah.
charisma out through the roof. And then the character's like this kind of pathetic, needs the mafia to help him out guy.
Yeah.
And the book is centered way more on this character. So Sinatra's like, I don't want this fucking movie made.
Yeah.
So the second he finds out it's a movie, he starts talking to mafia people. We're like, yo, this is making us look bad. They don't want it made.
Wow.
And this is the last thing I'm gonna give away. There's another scene with the mafia guy where he's like, can you not use the word mafia? Or I don't know, somehow it comes up, the producer's like, you know what I'm gonna do for you? I'm gonna not have the word mafia
The
used at all.
family.
Yeah, and then the mafia guy's like, you would do that for me? And he's like, yo, if you want it, that's what we'll do. And then he goes and asks Coppola, how many times do you use the word mafia? Coppola goes, once. And then he says the line, and he's like, can you take that out? I just need you to do it for me. He goes, done. It was just one line.
Oh, this is after the movie's already
No,
made.
the movie's not. It's written.
When
But,
it's written, yeah.
This is another thing he does to like schmooze over this mafia guy. And then the producer gets in good with the mafia, and then that is its own set of problems.
So I think one of the things that the show Entourage exposed
Yes.
is that the life of the agent, manager, producer people is far more interesting in terms of stories
Yes.
than the actual talent.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fucking rock star like that, remember the book The Dirt about
Yes.
Motley Crue? Okay, you're gonna have wild fuck stories and like destroying hotel rooms or whatever. But like you're not coming across as much adversity because the adversity is dealt with by the team usually.
Yeah.
It's constant adversity.
Yes.
If you're the manager, there's a fire trying to put something out,
Yes.
the agent, and we watch Entourage, and Vince almost became this like character in the background.
He just like stumbles into pussy, lives a great life.
Yeah.
And battles a drug addiction for a season, and that's the most boring season.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, man, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the getting it made, and I talked to a person who said that show is so accurate, I can't watch it. It makes me uncomfortable.
Wait,
I thought
meaning-
Entourage
meaning,
was like an over dramatization. This shit don't really go down like this.
Entourage is so accurate.
Yes.
Yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah.
this lady who worked like behind the camera fairly high up was like, I can't. It's so accurate. I can't watch it. It's like it reminds me too much of just fucking past anxieties and shit I had to go through. I can't watch the show.
Yeah.
It's so accurate.
Yo, it's interesting though that like we needed Vince's character that you could like live aspirationally through.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird what we need. Like Vince gets you in the door. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to be
Yeah.
like part of this thing and girls are everywhere, etc. But E is the star.
Yes.
And then also the agent, Ari,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it's so interesting. Without Vince, I don't know if that show works. You
Yeah.
still need the
Of
guy,
course. Yeah.
even if he's not the focal point.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, you need to really care about him, and that makes you care more because E cares so much about.
Yes.
And Ari, this is like they even added this little hook. I discovered Vince. I don't discover a lot of people. I discovered Vince.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he takes more ownership in Vince's
Yeah.
career. So he cares more. So that raises the stakes because emotionally these guys care so much. But I wonder if Ari's role in episode 1 was supposed to be as big.
No.
But then he knocked it out of the park.
I heard he knocked it
Yeah.
out of the park, and he did a fucking great job. But yeah, the offer, also the name is good.
Yeah.
The offer, like I'm gonna make you an offer
Yes.
you can't refuse. Yeah.
There's another show if anyone like actually cares about that. So
We don't. So what do we have?
Godfather was a Sicilian mob, and there's a show. I think I brought it up before. It's called Gomorrah.
Oh
that
yeah, this is
covers-
actually really cool.
So again, it was
Naples,
someone
right?
from Naples.
Yeah.
His name is Roberto Saviano. As soon as he came out with it, he would target on his fucking back, on his forehead. He was in like protection in Italy for years because he exposed the Camorra, and then they changed it to Gomorrah, the film title. That
What is the
became a
Camorra?
film, and then it's a series. It's the Naples mob series. You want to watch this? I think it bounces around different networks. I promise you, watch it in an Italian language. This is the fucking best mafia show you could possibly watch. It's like
The
people that have
Wire.
seen 000. It's like that. It's like The
The
Wire.
Wire, yeah.
It's all that.
Narcos.
And then like that mob kind of got busted in Italy, and now there's another one called that 000 is 'Ndrangheta from Calabria, and they're responsible for like 80% of drug trafficking between like South America and Europe. Like and you have to be like blood related. So those are like the big mobs, but Gomorrah is like the next after.
You know the most impressive thing about the mafia, and maybe you need violence and fear to make this work. And yeah, I'm like backing into this, but that they can have a functional business with nepotism. Oftentimes, the best people to increase,
Yeah.
the value of your company are not necessarily your kids. Like, because your kids, you're rolling the dice. It doesn't matter how good you raise them. Some might be smart, some might be stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? the best person to run your business might be some fucking genius that went to MIT, or might be some like hard-nosed business kid that built his way up. But there are other people out there that can increase, like, what is it called? The shareholders' profits.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the criticisms of Dolan is you look at the executive board and it's everybody's last name is Dolan on it. You're like, and oh, is that why the Knicks suck?
Yes. Yes.
Like, you're telling me the 5 people that can increase my shareholder profits are related to you? What a coincidence, right?
It's like Moneyball, like that whole.
What Moneyball you're saying when you're choosing the right
your
players,
point.
right? So it's like, what's kind of impressive about the Mafia is they're like, now we're only doing blood, right?
Only Sicilian, period. You can't be made without being Sicilian.
Right. So, but here's the interesting thing. Maybe they need to be violent because they can't compete with just blood.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you're entering my business. Well, you shouldn't be threatened if your business was good.
Yeah.
Well, I can't make it that good because I got these fucking idiot nephews that don't know how to run a business.
Yeah.
But if I put a gun to your head, you
Your
won't
life is
even
on the
open
line.
your business.
Your life is on the line. You got to perform.
So if they removed nepotism and just hired like any other business, they could probably still do the illegal shit they do, just more proficiently, and then not have to kill a single person. They have to kill because you can't count on family. Isn't that weird?
I think you got to kill either way.
Still gotta kill.
Okay, you still gotta kill, but does the
It would be
is
The
the point
Wire.
cogent? Does it kind of make sense?
That makes sense, but like you have to. The only way the Knicks are going to be good is if you start acing out board members.
What
Like
does that mean?
killing
Acing out?
board members. Like if your life is on the line as a Dolan, the Knicks
yeah.
will perform. You just got to raise the stakes because you can't get fired. You can't get killed.
I think it's actually better that there's nepotism, because if you just brought like hungry people, it's like, oh shit, there's no laws here. I could just take out top guy and become top guy.
Oh, true.
If that's my uncle,
Very
it's like,
true.
I'm gonna respect him.
Yes.
Well, that also happens, right? I guess that's the security, right? It's the security is almost like royal family type shit. Like, how do we keep it in our bloodline, like in our last name? The concern is if you bring in these other people, it's like what happened with like Gucci and I'm sure a bunch of other products, right? It started out as his family business, and then you brought in these other people who are sharks, and the reason they're good is because they're sharks. But the problem with a shark is it doesn't have friends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So once it finds out that you're food.
It's the apex predator. It kills. It will eat you. You're done.
But isn't that, I don't know, I find
a
that kind
great
of
point.
interesting. Like, the Mafia, I guess the only way to sustain and protect the family is with a bit of fear.
And who are
or
you?
just acknowledging that there's going to be competition and maybe life isn't going to be
Well,
as sweet.
also adding on to Al's point, who are you the least likely to snitch on? Some guy you barely know that you just started working for, or your family? I'm not snitching on my family.
Yeah,
and if
there's security within that.
this
or the
omerta
guilt.
is the thing
Yeah.
that's like we built upon this.
Yeah.
I'm way less likely to tell on my family, my cousins, my brother. I'm not doing that.
You can also ingrain values in family easier
Yeah.
than like a grown person that's coming to the business at 30 years old.
Yeah.
So ever since they're kids, you're saying, hey, we don't snitch, we don't do whatever. So you're curating behavior. It's religious.
Yeah.
This is what is right behavior. This is what is wrong behavior. At least I can trust your behavior. You might not be smart enough to make some money.
Yeah.
And we might have to bring in some cousins that can actually
You get
do
to
something.
raise your employees, literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coppola, this ties actually into the, not necessarily the offer, but even The Godfather. When you think about why it's so good, Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola, the director of The Godfather, brilliant guy. He reads the thing and he's like, you know how you make this movie? You don't make it about the mafia, you make it about a family. This is a story about family. And that's where the mafia is so family. This whole thing, everybody relates to it. Not just you're romanticized by the mafia, but you're drawn to it because of family. Everybody is a Michael or a Sonny or a Frito, or you have a Michael or Sonny or Fredo in your family. Your dad probably has sons trying to figure this all out. Like, you have a daughter, you got to be protective of her. These are all just family stories, immigrant experiences in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Even though you might not be doing illegal shit, you relate on an emotional level to it.
That's the Hollywood secret. That was like the Spielberg, like, make it simple. Even he was a producer on Transformers. All he said was like, it's a story about a kid in his first car. That type of.
That's a Pixar storytelling technique.
Yeah.
It's like every story has to be universal. It has, like, every storyline has to be boiled down to something that every person on the planet can and will experience.
Like, for example, Coco. What is like the baseline?
It's like the loss of family.
Don't
like,
mention that, bro.
Come on.
Come on, bro. You know what that does to me.